What is up, guys? It is Pool Party Cards. Today we are here to talk about how to, or things to keep in mind when investing in rookie quarterbacks. Before we get into the topic, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you like videos like this, alongside other hobby videos, pack openings, things like that. So here I have the population, price, and of course the player of 7 different quarterbacks and their PSA 10 Prism rookies. Starting at the top, we have Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Trevor, Herbert, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, and at the bottom we have 3 other guys who we're going to talk about later in the video. So first off, a couple things that struck me when I saw these pop numbers for these PSA 10 Prism rookies is that of Trevor Lawrence's. As you can see, the price of a Trevor PSA 10 is about $250. Compare that to Burrow, who's a little over $250. Herbert, who's almost $100 less. Hurts, who's almost $100 less. But what's really crazy is that population. Well, a lot of Trevor Lawrence 2021 Prism cards came out of the pack heavily damaged. This means dimples, scratches, poorly centered, miscut, etc. That means the gem rate, which means the rate a card gets a PSA 10 for Trevor Lawrence, is 32% less than Burrow, Herbert, and Hurts. 2021 Prism, Trevor Lawrence's get a gem at 8% rate versus a 40% rate for those 3 other players. I see this as potential upside heading into the 2023 season because Trevor Lawrence showed a tremendous amount of growth and success this year under his second head coach in a 2-year-long career. I think he very easily could be as good as Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert. And comparing him to Burrow, when their prices of the PSA 10 Prism are roughly the same, but Trevor Lawrence has a population of less than 5,000, I think it could be a very good decision to invest in him, as long as this is something you can afford, which is always important when it comes to investing in sports cards. At the end of the day, don't spend money you don't have, but I can see this as a very good play that would increase the prices of Trevor Lawrence's Prism rookies faster if he's having a very good season next year versus Joe Burrow, because there's simply less of these ones. They're way less accessible. While on eBay, you can go and find hundreds of PSA 10 Prism Joe Burrows. That's not discrediting anything he's done. He's amazing, but if Trevor Lawrence reaches his level, that pop, I think, could really be a huge difference between the 2 cards. Something else that I want to look into a little bit is Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson. Coming into this year, Josh Allen was a player that it seemed like everyone thought was ready to take that Super Bowl leap this year. The Bills were number 1 in the power rankings. He came off a tremendous season last year where he almost beat the Chiefs and Mahomes in Arrowhead in the playoffs if it wasn't for a miraculous 13-second drive by Mahomes, followed by him never getting the ball in overtime. So really, the hype of Josh Allen reached such a level that if he did anything this year besides win the Super Bowl, it was going to be considered a huge flop. Well, it's basically what it was. Obviously, he had a great year, but kind of fell off towards the end of the year and got knocked out by the Bengals in the playoffs. Well, you can see this as a good thing or a bad thing when it comes to his card prices. This is his 3rd year in a row where he was knocked out of the playoffs after having a subpar performance. Or rather, I guess last year wasn't really subpar, but bad luck. Either way, going into next year, I don't think his cards will reach the level of hype that they did going into this year. Now, when we look deeper into the Bills, I would say they're going to have roughly the same supporting cast as they had last year. Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. I'm assuming they're going to go after another receiver. But I think Josh Allen will have a similar year next year as he did this year, but his cards will be more affordable. I'm not saying they're going to double or triple overtime, but I think this is the first time in a very long time you can probably get a Josh Allen card in the preseason and not completely lose money unless he goes to a Super Bowl. Like, these are cards that will no longer be dropping so much in price because the hype is just not there for him anymore. I think a lot of that hype is transferring to Joe Burrow, where I think a lot of people would be speculating that the Bengals, I mean, you heard it all week this week before the Bengals and Chiefs played, that is Burrow better than Mahomes? Now, I don't think he is. I think Mahomes is maybe, by the time he's done, the best quarterback and best football player of all time. But is he better than Mahomes? After this week, I'm still saying no to that. So Burrow is someone I might shy away from going into next year. He's still extremely good, but the Bengals are going to have to start paying for these young guys that, are on rookie contracts. So that means they'll lose pieces on defense. They may not be able to build their offensive line. He already has, he had a horrible injury 2 years ago. And something like that can always, return with bad fortune. That's like it for any quarterback, though. Something like an injury can really tank the price of any card at any time. But I think that's just something to be mindful of if you're going to go invest in any of these rookie quarterbacks or young quarterbacks at this point. Someone else who I think is a very overlooked quarterback right now is Lamar Jackson. After these past 2 years where he's gotten injured later in the season, I think that killed a lot of faith people had in him, that, his style of play, which is very run-heavy, potentially put yourself in danger, is sustainable over a long period of time. But with that in mind, the Ravens as a whole were a very injury-depleted team this year. Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay both had injuries that sidelined them a lot of the year. So I think Lamar Jackson's prices are just a little bit too low right now. Like I said, Allen's, before he got knocked out, were maybe closer to triple that of Lamar Jackson's while having a triple population. So next year, if they play, let's say, similarly, there's still 1,200 more Josh Allen PSA 10 Prism rookies. So I think the gap in price here will really start to shrink. This also goes with the fact that Lamar may be on a different team. I mean, if he, goes to the Raiders or another, he's only going to be going to contenders. So the Jets, who believe they're a quarterback away, that may really boost his prices before the season even begins. I mean, people will be really hyped up over Lamar Jackson getting traded, that will boost the price of his cards. And if he performs extremely well, that will only drive them up even higher. Moving on, though, we got to talk about the big dog on campus, Patrick Mahomes. Now, something I didn't know until recently is that 2017 Prism only had silver rookies. There were no base rookies. So if you see a silver Mahomes Prism rookie, that is it. There's no base. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're looking to pick up one of these things. Mahomes' Prism rookie has a population of 907. Kind of falls in the middle of these numbers here, lower than guys like Herbert Burrow, higher than Trevor Lamar, quite a bit lower than Allen. Obviously, the price is much higher than any of these guys by quite a large margin. Obviously, that relates to the tremendous amount of accolades he has up until this point. Already has a Super Bowl MVP, been to one, going to his third this week. It sounds crazy because of how expensive Mahomes' Prism rookie is, but I still think he is a good buy. This is because if you look at the bottom here, this is Tom Brady's Bowman rookie PSA 10. They are roughly $8,000, and they have a population of 462. So Mahomes' Prism in price is about half of that of Tom Brady's, but it does have about double the population. So if going into the end of his career, if Mahomes is generally considered, and I always cringe when I say this term, but the GOAT over Tom Brady, if he has 5, 6 Super Bowls, starts breaking these passing records that no one thought would ever be broken, I do think his prices will surpass that of Brady's, because Mahomes is only 5 years into his career, and his PSA 10 flagship rookie is half that of Brady's. So, double, triple those years and accolades and everything else. I think Mahomes' rookie will be surpassing that of Brady's and be a very good buy. Of course, there's always risk, like with any player ever, like we said. They can always get hurt, always fall off. But you got to take all these things into account. And if you still really believe in Mahomes, like I do, then it doesn't always have to be a Prism rookie, but a score rookie, a Leaf, anything you can afford, I can see going up a lot over time. Now, a couple more things I want to touch on before we go here. The Peyton Manning Topps PSA 10 rookie. It is about $350 and has a population of 598. I bring Peyton Manning up because not everyone can be Brady. Brady is most likely the GOAT until further notice, which makes me cringe. I just said that, but it's true. But Peyton Manning is a top 5 quarterback. He has 2 Super Bowls, multiple MVPs, had a tremendous playing career, and had a huge fan base, too. It's not like he was, sneaky good by any means. Like, these guys up here all have tons of fans, but so did Manning. Well, his PSA 10 Topps is only $350, with a population less than everyone on this list besides Trevor Lawrence. So it makes you wonder, what do these guys up here have to do to reach the status of Peyton Manning? Now, let's say they have equivalent careers, any of these players here. I think they will cost more than Peyton Manning's just because of different factors, like how the hobby got so popular while a lot of these guys were young. I think people have nostalgia for that a lot. But, this relates a lot to the long-term game for investing in these rookie quarterbacks. These have tremendous upside, but like my last point here, Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco has a Super Bowl, won 9 playoff games in his first few years as a quarterback, and now he's rotting as a backup on the Jets, I think, and his Topps Chrome rookie PSA 10 is only $40. So that just shows, you can have a perfect recipe. It doesn't always turn out the way you think, though. Like, if Burrow goes and wins a Super Bowl and then gets replaced a few years later, now I don't think that'll happen. I think all these guys are extremely good. Very unlikely that it happens, but it always can, and that's something else to keep in mind. No player is, at the end of the day, the NFL is about money and winning. If someone isn't winning, they will get booted, they will get sidelined, and that would obviously hurt the value of any of their cards. As you can see, it's cautionary tale. 10 years ago, Joe Flacco is one of those cards where 10 years ago, this probably lines up to when they won the Super Bowl, maybe a year after. They were probably way more valuable then than they are now. And just kind of a scary thing to think. But if you're not playing the long-term game, that doesn't hurt you as much. If you're looking at I think a lot of people getting into cards now or recently got into it really like to float in the midterm investment level with quarterbacks specifically. Maybe try to buy before the season starts. Sell them after the season ends if they had a really good year. Maybe sell it mid-season if the hype is high enough. I don't think any of these guys on this list are really bad. If I would have a personal ranking going into next year, I think Trevor Lawrence would be high up there. Has another year in the Doug Peterson system. Low pop, decent price at $250. This goes with the silvers as well. The silvers are more expensive, but still have a pretty low pop. I think he'll have a great year. Herbert as well. As you can see, the pop is very high on those Prism rookies, but another new offensive coordinator, going into, his 4th year now. So that's when, you're kind of expected, you're no longer a young guy. Like, you're expected to be the guy. So I think Herbert will step up. His receivers will be healthy, and he'll have a great year. Some of the players I'm more cautious on would be Allen and Burrow. Like I said earlier, I do think Allen's prices will cool down. That can lead to some good buying opportunities, but just be cautious because Josh Allen's cards are a lot of cards that people had money into. So if they're trying to sell them, you may not be getting the best deal. Joe Burrow, hype is still extremely high for him. That hype may ride into next year. And if he doesn't live up to it, you may be getting burnt. You may not be, though, if he's amazing, which, if he has an MVP level season, you'll still be doing quite well. So if you really believe in him, he's still not a bad buy. Obviously, Jalen Hurts, this is the week before the Super Bowl, so I think his price will depend incredibly on that because, he's in his 3rd year as a quarterback. If he gets a Super Bowl MVP, his accolades will be better than everyone up here besides Mahomes, Brady and Peyton. So I wouldn't buy Hurts if they lose the Super Bowl. I think Hurts can be a good buy because I think the Eagles will be good for years to come. Just seems like they're cultivating great culture there. But if he does win, those prices will be quite high for a while after. I'd stay away from those for a while. But it looks like we covered everything I wanted to cover here today. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you like this type of conversation. And stay tuned for more videos. Thank you.